السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه وبعد.
You see, sometimes the balance is in one person and sometimes the balance is in a number of people put together. And this is why I say, those in the da'wah who are harsh and hard, we need them. But they will have an impact on a certain category of people. Those who are more lenient and patient, we need them. And they will have an impact on others. Today on the globe, we're going through so much. People are doubting their own beliefs. People are questioning things. We need to have answers. Not everyone is actually going to be on your level or mine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us goodness and ease. This is just a session I thought I would go live for. And perhaps if the sound is good enough, maybe we can do a few more lives at some point. Otherwise, we'll have to stick to the premiering of the pre-recorded videos instead of doing a live. The opportunities we get to actually read your comments are much better than if we were to read comments posted later on. So this is why may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant every one of us ease and goodness. Remember, when you speak to people, make sure you know who you're speaking to and make sure whatever method you're going to employ is going to be effective. It's going to actually have the desired impact on the person or the people whom you're addressing. Be respectful. I don't see why a person should not be respectful, and try and understand that others who have a different approach are not necessarily wrong. Those who have a different approach from yours are not necessarily wrong. They just have different nature given by Allah. They perhaps would impact on different categories of people. And I still do believe that al-asl, and I've confirmed this with many scholars, many people, and even read it throughout the seerah, throughout the Quran, etc. Al-asl, the original method, the way to start the methods of da'wah, the original method is that which is filled with a soft approach, with leniency, with kindness, with tolerance, with goodness. And then as time progresses and you're addressing different people who have reacted in different ways, or people who have done different things, in that particular case, you would become a little bit harder and at times even harsh with those whom that harshness is required. And that is what would impact upon them more. So I pray that we understand this. I think it's the third time I'm repeating it, but perhaps the reason is because I see more of us are joining this live session. In the meantime, my brothers and sisters, we need to pray for those who are going through difficulty and hardship. There are people who are losing faith because of the hardship that they're going through. And there are people who, for example, someone who is leading others astray, generally the approach with them would be a little bit harder because they're leading others astray. A person who is just trying to learn, a person who is trying to ask questions, a person who themselves might be, astray, but they're not leading others astray. In that case, you would actually be the most lenient, softest person to them. When someone is causing damage, you're going to have to stop that damage somehow. If someone is going around shooting people, someone is going to have to be brave enough to come and stop that person somehow. And that's not going to happen with a soft approach. Hi, how are you? They'll shoot you as well. So remember this, my brothers and sisters. Each person and each situation requires its approach. To know which approach to employ is actually wisdom. And that wisdom, very few people have it. Sometimes a lot of people have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have the know-how. Which method should I employ? And they begin to attack and they begin to create more damage. The same would apply among the scholars themselves. Sometimes you find, we all know scholars are not prophets of Allah, okay? Scholars are not prophets of Allah. So they will have weaknesses, they will have sins, all of them. They would have sins, minor sins mostly. And subhanAllah, sometimes mistakes they would definitely make. I make mistakes, I know that. And I would never call myself perfect. I'm very far from that. But imagine what you're teaching is one thing. When you're teaching that which is wrong, yeah, you need to be called out for what you are teaching that is wrong. And when you've done something within your private life that is wrong, then people need to help you and guide you as a human being. If you have not taught that, it's not their teachings. For example, you find a person who teaches Quran, he teaches lovely Quran and so on, and then you see him skip a red traffic light. May Allah protect us. What would you do? That doesn't require a refutation. He didn't teach people to skip a light. He did it. Let me give you another example. A person who tells people to fulfill salah, and mashallah, he's a guiding light, and one day he misses his salah, or he didn't fulfill it in the proper way. Say he missed it. Does it mean now I need to make a video to say this guy doesn't pray, Yet he only teaches people about praying 5 times a day. Because you noticed something in his private life that needed correction, you don't go out in the public to correct his private personal mistake where he is not preaching and teaching that particular thing that is wrong. If someone tells you don't read the Quran, they would be wrong. But if someone were to say read the Quran and understand it's the word of Allah and understand that it is sacred and so on, and then you find they themselves did not read it at a specific time, you know what, you might want to remind them, hey brother, you're not supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that. They might say, look, I made a mistake, and you know what, it's not a public teaching. But sometimes the way some of the trigger-happy refuters come out and hunt for something in someone's private life to take out and bring to the fore, nobody even knew about it, they exposed it, thinking that, we're going to nail this person or do justice to this particular matter, when they didn't realize all you did was took a private matter that this person doesn't teach, doesn't stand by, doesn't believe themselves. They might have fallen as a human in 1 or 2 mistakes or sins. And now, instead of helping them, you've actually come out and reduced the respect that people had for them, and they're going to do it to you and to everyone else, so you're going to be left with no scholars. I don't know a single scholar that has not been spoken bad about. Not even one. Name them from the east to the west, from the north to the south. Every single scholar, they have to be refuted no matter who they are. They have to be spoken against no matter who they are. Why? Because obviously there would be all sorts of people who are prepared to say what opposes what you're going to say. There have to be people who don't like you. There are people who don't like the Quran, the Sunnah. They don't like a lot of things. So you will have that. But to be very fair, if a person has not promoted that which is wrong, and they have not taught that which is wrong, and whatever they've made a mistake regarding, if it is not their ingrained habit and quality, there is absolutely no benefit at all. In fact, there is harm in coming out and trying to expose things. What did you expose? I mean, come on, that's crazy. Subhanallah, you brought to the fore something. Say, for example, you were walking in the mall and you saw a scholar and he happened to slap his child. Or he happened to say a bad word to his child or to his family member or to someone. Surely, rather than create a video and get excited, which is not right, you know this person teaches goodness, they teach a lot of respect, they teach kindness, they must have had their bad moment, or they might have, made a mistake or fallen or whatever it may have been. It's your duty, if you really care for them, to go and remind them and to tell them, you know what, I heard what you said, and I really felt it because I wouldn't have expected that from you. That's enough for that person's correction. But if you're going to make a video out of it, and you're going to come out and say, I saw so-and-so, they were in the mall, and I saw them with people, and he spoke very badly, he slapped his child, and he did this, look at the hypocrite he is, look at the child. You're obsessed with the guy. Leave him alone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us ease. That doesn't solve the problem. Probably the brother has taught, or the sheikh or the sister, whoever it may have been, has taught millions of people a lot of goodness, and what you try to do now is you just wanted to create a blemish in that. People will start doubting the good teachings just because you created a video about the slapping or about whatever else it may, a personal mistake, rather than address it so that it's not repeated again, or it's dealt with in a beautiful way. This is something you need to think about. And I have seen some really uncultured refutists. And I can tell you they have not had a good upbringing. Those who've had a good upbringing and they are cultured people, they would always do things thinking of a lot of factors before they say things or do things. But when you have someone who's uncultured, probably they've just got guidance now. Then the other day, they used to be in the clubs and the ghettos and they came onto the deen. They probably, in a lot of cases, wallahi, I've seen it, and I'm compiling stats to actually see how bad this has become. They would go to town with the way they refute people and talk about reasonably good people in such a derogatory way that it leaves a bad taste. To be honest with you, it goes to prove that they don't have a good upbringing. They've come from the ghettos. When I say ghetto, I mean they've come from, not even ghettos, they've come from a terrible life. We need to understand this. Culture is very important for as long as it does not contradict the deen. In fact, the character and conduct taught in the deen, we're talking about harshness. And we're taught, people say, no, you must be harsh. Not at all. You must make sure that you know when to be hard and harsh. You know what to expose, when to expose it, and when to correct a person. You need to know the damage of what you are trying to do. You need to realize the damage of what you are trying to do if you really care for the deen. And this is why I definitely doubt some people who just go on a refuting campaign. You know, recently I heard someone say, oh, you must refute anything and everything. Yes, I agree. Where there is deviance that is being taught, you refute it, without a doubt. All of it, without a doubt. But when you come to an individual and a person, and you want to get personal about them, be careful. Because then, on the day of judgment, it could just be the other way around. When you want to get personal about people and make personal attacks on others, be very, very careful. This is what I'm talking about. You need to know if they've made a blunder, if they've said or did something, and that's not what they preach and promote. That's their own private error. And if you really care for them, you need to make sure you come, reach out to them, help them, guide them. They are human. If I were to make a mistake, I wouldn't be happy if someone started creating a big video about something that was within my own private life. Unfortunately, the world is full of cuckoos, and you know what? They do that. So guys like us have to just enjoy the video, that's it, and smile about it. Because there's nothing much you're going to do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us goodness and ease and open our doors, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in every single way. I think I've spoken quite a lot. Inshallah, I hope to meet with you guys again at some point. I'm done my half an hour of nasiha that I wanted to give myself to begin with, and then everyone else is done. And I'm not referring to anyone in particular, I'm referring to everyone, including myself. This is the nasiha. There are so many people serving all sorts of agendas. Our agenda should be Allah and His Rasul, and we should carefully think of the damage that would be caused by what we do. And if we don't, people have reason to doubt us and our motives and what we're actually trying to get to. Because I'm finding more and more loss of respect of all scholars, all of them, loss of respect of all scholars across the board, simply because people are spending their time doing all sorts of things, and they're actually attacking one another left, right and center without speaking on the point itself. Rather it's becoming personal, and it's becoming really ugly. May Allah bless you all. Jazakumullah khair. أقول قولي هذا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.